If you grew up in the 1950s and 60s, or if you're a classic car aficionado, you might recognize this lovely creature, the 1954 Chevrolet Bel Air. I came upon this photo, and as a fan of these cars myself, I decided to make a painting of it. I start by tracing the pertinent details of the original photo onto tracing paper, and then position the tracing paper over a canvas. Tape it down, slip a transfer paper. I use Sarrel paper between the tracing and the canvas. Sarrel paper is a tracing paper that doesn't contain any waxes or oils that might interfere with the painting later on. I did the initial tracing in pencil, and when I transfer it to the canvas using the Sarrel paper, I use a contrasting ballpoint pen to make it easier to see what has been traced and what still needs to be traced. Once satisfied that the pertinent details have been transferred to the canvas, can remove that Sarrel paper and the tracing paper. This gives us some good outlines with which to begin the painting. So we've finished our tracing to the canvas, removed the transfer paper and the tracing paper, have a look at the image. There's always a few details that we've missed or misinterpreted, so this is a good time to clean up the drawing if you need to. We only need enough detail to see where we are when we begin the painting. Now, once that's done, I take it outside, either to the garage or the patio, hopefully not too windy of a day, to give it a light spray of clear matte acrylic to seal the drawing and keep the pencil marks where I've put them once we begin painting. As we begin, I'm using cerulean blue thinned with turpentine to wash in a tonal underpainting over the entire surface of the canvas. My first painting language is watercolor, so I have a tendency to want to lean on watercolor techniques. I do catch myself reminding me, oh, wait, this isn't oil painting. Once we get the canvas covered in a light wash of color, we'll let it dry several hours or overnight, and then we'll come back in and start bringing in the large color mass areas. Again, we'll let it dry several hours or overnight, and then when we come back, we'll start kicking in the details. Now, for this portion of the video, we're selecting colors for this painting. I'm going to work on getting just the right blue to portray this car. Initially, I thought cerulean blue with white would be perfect, but that might be just a little bit too blue. So we're going to experiment a little bit, see what we can come up with, do some color studies. Best way I know how to do that is just try them out. So we're going to get out some little canvases and smear color onto them, blend that together, and see what we can come up with. So we're starting with cerulean blue, just smear it right on the canvas, some phthalo green in a similar manner, and we'll pick up a little bit of white and run through both of them. This is titanium white, by the way. Now that we have the color on the canvas, we'll pick up the brush and blend it a little bit. Just blend and test until we're happy with the color that we're looking for. I use a medium that I make myself. I call it a third, and a third. It's 1/3 turpentine, 1/3 Damar varnish, and 1/3 linseed oil. It keeps well and is really good for glazing and blending. So now we're just going to begin blending these colors together. We're going to try the cerulean blue with white, which I have determined is a little bit too blue for this car. We'll get a little sample field of it right here. It's pretty close. And pick up a tiny bit of phthalo green. Phthalo is a pretty intense green, so a little goes a long, long way. But I do think it's just the right green to add into our cerulean blue and titanium white mix. Right there, I think that's the one right there. So we're just blending a little bit to get the perfect blue. We'll add a little bit of the undiluted cerulean blue for shadow. That seems to work out pretty well. A little white to emphasize the highlights, see what the highlights are going to look like. And that is going to work. cerulean blue with a lot of white and just the barest hint of phthalo green, maybe for a little bit more deepening of shadow. Not really a lot of deep shadows on the car, but maybe we could use a little bit of Payne's gray for some of the other shadowed areas. There's a place there where the body comes around down to the, what do they call that, a rocker panel? And then, of course, the cracks there where the doors are, where the doors open up. Those are a little bit darker. So let's see what this Payne's gray looks like in that blue mix. That will be quite suitable to add for shadow. That's going to work, yes. Alrighty, I'm very pleased with the selection of blues and the way that blue is going to turn out. That'll be just right. Now, whites are almost never exactly white. You see that compared to the blank canvas, it's kind of a dusky color, got a little slight grayness to it, maybe a warm gray. So we're going to see what we need to do to get the right gray for that kind of creamy color. Yellow ochre with a little Payne's gray and a lot of white should get us just exactly the color we need. So here comes the yellow ochre. Put a little bit on there. So we'll put a little on that sample canvas with the palette knife. I like to get it where I can really compare the look. Maybe move that up a little bit. Yellow ochre and then a little swath of the titanium white. Blend those together just a little bit. We're not really looking for a yellow color exactly. We're just looking for kind of a creamy white. Mostly white, but not this stark snow canvas white, just a tiny bit of yellow to give it that creamy effect. And then the ever so slightly gray hint of oxidation. I think we've got it right there. That's it. That is it. Good job blending. I often do this kind of pre-test my colors and blend them and sample them before I commit anything to a painting. And now we're going to look at the grass color. I did the underpainting with this emerald green, and it's very bright and very raw, so we're going to have to tone that down a little bit to get it to look more like actual grass. So I'm thinking the emerald green again with yellow ochre, that'll help tame it down and not overwhelm it. This will be a good green grass combination here with the emerald green and the yellow ochre. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with the cerulean blue, just a touch of phthalo green and titanium white for the body of the car, titanium white with a touch of yellow ochre and a mere breath of Payne's gray for the white parts, and then yellow ochre and emerald green for the grass. So now we're going to apply color. Paper towels at the ready. I'm always thinking about the order of operations and what needs to happen first and then next. I think we'll put the background in first, and we'll use a nice big bristle brush. Hello, brush. It's been a long time. Now you may notice there's a dark shadow under the car, and my plan is to come back and glaze that in. We might put this in a frame, but with the edges painted, we can hang it studio style if we wish. Alrighty, here's how far we got with it this time. We're going to let this dry for a few days and then we'll come back and kick in some more details. Okay, previously we looked at nuances of color, for example, the way that white in the environment is almost never pure snow paper white. We laid in the background and have given it a day or two to dry, and now we're ready to start laying in more color on the car. One trick I use to see colors more accurately is to take a white business card or a piece of white cardstock, punch a hole in it. Use that to hold up to the reference photo in order to get a clearer or more accurate view of the color nuances. You can also do the same thing with a black card for dark colors, but we don't have anything quite that dark today, so we're going to start out by working on the white sections of the painting. Now, the original footage for this portion of the painting is pretty long, so we're going to speed this up a bit. We could kick in some shadow here, and you can see that I used that card with a hole in it to check my color. Hue, tint, shade, inspect, mix, verify, apply, and blend. Portraying a chrome surface, and especially a curvy one, in art is fun. Polished chrome is so reflective, you just need to see what it looks like and emulate the light and the dark and add whatever colors there may be. Now we'll add some shadows under the car. We're going to do this with the appropriate color mixed with a bit of that glaze medium that I told you about earlier, a third, and a third, which is 1/3 Damar varnish, 1/3 linseed oil, and 1/3 turpentine. So we glaze in the shadows. We have a few more darks to kick in. We're always checking the color with that little window card. And now we're ready to let it dry for a few days and see if we need to kick in a few more details. And here is the finished painting. 1954 Chevrolet Bel Air.